All right, we're good. Emily Seebohm, welcome to the podcast. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, what's going on? Sunday morning down under.
Sunday morning. I'm a bit sore because I did my first session back with the squad yesterday and I did
Mm.
5K. And yeah, I'm a bit sore from that.
I was going to say, like, what's the story? Are you going to make a decision here? It sounds like you have.
I'm basically said to myself that I want to take this year out, really, like
Mm.
a fair bit of this year out anyway, and have a really good break because it's something that I've not really done much with, and I really just want a chance to work out if my mind's still in it. I know my body's still in it, but it's all about, I think you can't do anything unless your mind's in it and you're 100%. And I just don't want to be one of those athletes that comes back and is not really into it.
Mm.
There's nothing worse than, like, being half into it and not really giving it your all.
Okay, all right. Well, listen, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I texted Bowley about 20 minutes ago and I said, is she in this or is she out of it? What's the story? And he basically said the same thing. He said, look, it's up to her, but you can't be half in, half out. You got to be all in, and we'll see what happens. But I'm glad you said that. It's the only reason why I'm telling you that is because Bowley said the same thing. All right.
Yeah, we're on the same page.
Okay, good. I'm glad. Because sometimes athletes get a little bit delusional. You know, you have some success and you've had longevity, and you think to yourself, "Oh, it's easy. I'll just keep cruising along, and things will
Yeah.
just fall into place." And I can get on with my life. I've got to, this is going on and that's going on. I'll do a little bit of that, and a little bit of that, and it just doesn't work out, and you end up hanging on too long, or you end up having some tragic failure, and it seems like you're more realistic with this.
Yeah, I mean, I've been swimming for so long. I've been on the team since I was 14, so I know how hard it is. I know how much I'm gonna have to give up, and, I'm almost 30 now, so it's
Mm.
crazy to think that I'm a full adult and I can make adult decisions, and there's lots of things that come into play now. It's not just so much about giving up some school and some study. Now it's like, what do I see myself doing for the rest of my life? Like, obviously, swimming can't be everything that I do, but is it going to be what I continue to do, or am I going to try my hands at something else?
Interesting. Yeah, I want to talk about that a little bit, because you've obviously had to give up certain things, and even in your daily life there are probably, exceptions you have to make where you're like, I just can't do this right now, or I got to get to bed, or I've got to eat this certain food. I've got to, you got to be a lot stricter than the average person. And once you get older, you start to create a new friend group. You want to get away from the pool a little bit. You want to have people outside of the pool as well, and they just don't see it the way you see it. So those adjustments get more and more difficult as you get older, right?
Yeah, they do. I mean, I'm actually planning my first holiday that doesn't relate around swimming at
Mm.
all, and I'm going snowboarding. And I've never been snowboarding because every time I've always wanted to go to the snow or do something crazy, everyone's like, "Oh, you're gonna break a leg. You can't break a leg, like, you're swimming." So
Mhm.
now I'm planning that trip, and I'm like, that's exciting because I've never had that opportunity to be able to do that before. And it's something that you don't really think about as a
Mm.
as a swimmer. Everyone thinks, oh, you travel all the time, you see all these amazing places, but you kind of see buses, hotels, and pools.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Tons of that. I mean, I got to the point at 31, just myself personally, where I swam at the Commonwealth Games in Melbourne in 2006, and I wasn't injured and I wasn't swimming badly. I still medaled. I did really well, but at 31, I was just like, I was on the team with 16-year-old girls and some 18-year-old boys, and it's like, I just don't relate anymore, kind of thing. It wasn't anything to do with any type of performance problems. It was just like it just didn't fit into my life anymore. Where I was like, this is a little silly that I have to live by their rules, and we're going away for a month on end, and it's like can't see my family and friends. It's like it just got a little too much. So I guess there's been some of that in your life then.
Yeah, I think for me, being one of the youngest people to be on the team and then
Mm,
kind of growing up in the team, and now I
mm,
feel so much older than what I am when I go on the team. I feel like
Mm.
such a mum when I go on the team, and I
Mhm.
just yeah,
Mhm.
it's so different. It's a totally different vibe, and I don't think people understand that because you see all these people all the time, but it doesn't yeah, it just
Yep.
changes when you're on a team. Like, you don't wanna be that old person that's,
Mhm.
like, hanging on for dear life.
Yeah, right, right. Did the coaches grow with you? You know, like I know Rowan Taylor's there, and he's an exceptional head coach now. And you know, did they allow you to be more of an adult and kind of give you some, I don't know what you call it, you know, just you know, some passes where it's like, you know, you can do this, but the rest of the team has to do that kind of thing, or is it like we're staying to this strict schedule, everybody's on this, and there's no, you know, waving from that.
Uh, I think when I worked with Matt Brown, it was very much like, "This is what you do."
Hmm.
There's no exceptions to that, and I worked with him up until I was about 24, and then after that, I went to another program where I had a little bit more freedom, and
Hmm.
then, I've obviously been with bowling now for a few years, and I've had a really good chance to actually work out what things work for me better,
Hmm. Right.
and it might have been adding something else into my program that we weren't doing down there, or it might have been, he let me do a session here in Brisbane because I live in Brisbane and I drive Brisbane to the Gold Coast to
Mhm.
train. So it's about an hour drive for me. And then, he lets me do a Friday session here so I can come home, and fully rest and have a good sleep and then wake up and then go to my session. And he has the trust in me that I'm going to do what he set out for me to do. And it makes it easy when I'm a very much, I like to be told what to do, and I don't
Mm.
like to vary that. I
Mhm.
like to just be told this is what you need to do, and this is going to get you to the best possible place. And
Mhm.
I just do exactly what is written, if not better, because I hate leaving things up to myself. I'd rather have someone else tell me this is what you need to do. And I'm just going to go, yep, 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 and tick all the boxes because that works best for me. I just really enjoy that. And I love the challenge that Bowler gives me at times. Like, he'll give me times to do, and I'll go in my head, I'll go, yep, that sounds good. And I'll try
Right.
and better what he's given me.
Right. Hang on. I got to apologize because for a split second I wasn't fully listening to exactly what you said, or I was, but I was like I didn't expect it. I think it took me by surprise. Are you living in Brisbane and you are training on the Gold Coast?
Yeah, yep, yep.
I'm like, all right. I wasn't expecting that. So talk to me. Talk to me about this. Like, what is happening?
Okay, so my weeks are busy. Uh, do stay on the Gold Coast on Monday and Tuesday nights because we have doubles. So,
So where do you
oh,
stay?
so I was renting a room from one of the boys that I trained with.
Okay.
So I would drive on Monday morning. I would get up. I would drive down to the Gold Coast, train in the
Hmm.
morning, go back to his place. Make food, sleep the night, wake up, train again.
Hmm.
Tuesday was double, so do 2 sessions, then stay back at his place on Tuesday night, then Wednesday train, do gym, and then drive back to Brisbane. And
Wow.
then Thursday, I would do the drive down. So drive down in the morning, train in the morning, train in the afternoon, drive back to Brisbane on Thursday night, then train Friday here in Brisbane, and then Saturday just do the drive down and back.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, so that's where I was confused. Now I was listening, but I was confused because like when you said that, I was like, hang on a second. Because I know Australia and maybe some of my audience, you know, a lot of my audience is American, so they don't fully understand the difference between Brisbane and the Gold Coast. But it's a good hour drive. It's not a short hour. It's a good hour. So
Yeah.
so that's a lot of back and forward then. How come you never made the kind of the full commitment to say, well, I'm just going to get an apartment down in on the Gold Coast?
I don't know. I loved my place in Brisbane, and I
Mhm.
really had worked really hard to set it up as my home and to feel really comfortable here, and I have, which has been really good for me, and I wanted that kind of different environment. If I moved to the Gold Coast, my whole life would have just been swimming, whereas when I come back to Brisbane, I get a chance to kind of have a breather and be like, "Okay, this is my space, this is my home. I can do what
Mhm.
I need to here and really enjoy myself and relax."
Okay, that makes more sense. Now I'm less confused now. I'm like, okay, I'm figuring it out. That's cool. All right. Well, so it's worked. I mean, and then, I mean, it obviously worked for Tokyo. I mean, you got yourself onto the team and then onto the podium. So that was pretty outstanding. One of the things I was looking at in your career that I just wanted to bring up real quick is that, you know, you had success in London in the 100 backstroke, which was 2012. And then in Tokyo 21, but it was supposed to be 20, but it was 21. You know, years later, you end up getting on the podium in the 200. That's kind of rare. Most swimmers kind of go down in distance. You seem to go up in distance. How did you have more success over time in the longer distance?
I don't know how to answer that. I think when I started swimming, I hated the 200. It was so long, it was so hard. And then as I got older, I was like, okay, this one I can actually play around with a bit more. Like I can go out hard, I can do an easier 100 in the middle and then really come back. And I found that really enjoying, to be honest. It sounds weird, but I really enjoyed that I could play around with it, that I could have some fun with it. And look, honestly, I'm a sucker for punishment, and I just loved the training.
Mm. Well, yeah. I mean, I guess you must have embraced it at some point, because most people don't think to themselves, "I want to do more." You know, like, give me more training, give me more endurance. But you must have had it there. It was always part of who you were, I guess. It just, maybe you didn't tap into it as much as you had now. But you know, looking at you too as well, you were kind of a prodigy at 14. You know, like, and to have this longevity that you've had is pretty remarkable. I mean, you were really, really good at 14. Most of those athletes that are good like that kind of, you know, hit the international scene, and by the age of kind of 22, 23, they're gone completely. And that hasn't been the case for you. So kind of what's been the secret to the longevity then?
Can I be really annoying and just grab my computer charger
Yep.
really quick?
Yep. Do it. No
So
problem.
sorry.
Cheers, everybody.
Okay.
It's all right. I've had this problem before.
Oh, that's good. At least I'm not the first one. Okay, I mean, I don't know how to explain what I did at 14. I didn't swim that much at 14. Weirdly, I think I was only swimming maybe 6 sessions a week. And as I got older, I kind of added a little bit more on each time. So swimming for me was really fresh. It was really fun. I'm super competitive. I have 3 brothers, so everything in my life has always been a race for anything. So I loved swimming for that side of it, and I never really bought into the training until much later on in my career, because as I started winning more and getting so close, sometimes I was like, oh wow, like this is good, this is what I want. So when it came to the training, it sold me on it being the fact that I wanted to do better each time, that I always wanted to get better. And I never really thought I was amazing at 14. I was just doing what I loved, and it just came so easy for me. Like I didn't really have to think about it at all. And a lot of questions I get asked is, if you could go back to your 14-year-old self or your 16-year-old self, what would you say to yourself? And I wish that I could take that Emily into the Emily that I am now, because she was just so carefree about her swimming, and it was such a passion, it was such a love. And at some point, you know, between that 15 years, it starts becoming your job, an adult, and you need to pay bills. And, you know, if you don't perform, it's a lot harder to do those everyday things. And my young self didn't think about that, because I didn't have to worry about that. You know, I was living at home with my parents. They were looking after me. I was, you know, on the Australian team, and I was still at school. And yeah, at some point it just switches, and it starts being, you put more pressure on yourself. Whereas 14-year-old me never put pressure on myself, because I was just like, there, like, oh wow, this is amazing, I love it.
Yeah. I can understand that completely. But you said something there about having 3 brothers, which interests me as well. Apart from kind of the competitive nature of growing up with 3 brothers, what else do you think has helped you, you know, be the person you are today by having 3 brothers?
3 brothers is interesting. As being the only girl, I remember I was 7 when my youngest brother was born, and I have 2 older brothers. And my
Mhm.
mum called me on the phone, and she's, I didn't know what she was going to have. She didn't tell me if it was
Mm.
going to be a boy or a girl. And she rang me from the hospital and said, "Oh, you've got a little brother." And I think I just started crying immediately. Please don't bring him home. I already have 2. And it's funny, but in saying that, they've made me really, really strong.
Mm.
Uh, Everything's been a fight and nothing's come easy, and no one in my family is solely the focus. There's so many, like, there's 4 children, so
Mhm.
it's always been everyone has their own thing, and it's not just all about one person in our family, it's about all of us. We kind of share everything, and it's quite interesting now because my younger brother is actually boxing, and he was boxing to make the Commonwealth Games team
Mm.
about 2 weeks ago. He's really fresh into boxing, so it's interesting watching the differences in, I guess, his early career and my early career, whereas I was so focused and so dedicated because, my parents made me that way. They were like, "Come on, Emily, you got to go to training, even if I wasn't feeling good," or whatever it
Mhm.
might have been. They were really the driving force for me, and they
Mhm.
set me up to have that driven into me automatically. And, everyone always says, "Oh, a lot of people snooze their alarm," or they lie in bed for ages. For me, it was always when my alarm goes off, the first sound of that, I wake up. Like, I get
Mm.
up. I never snoozed an alarm ever. I've, barely missed a session because I've forgotten to set an alarm. It's just that it was so driven into me. And now that we're all older adults and he's, doing this boxing career at, I think he's 23 now. So it's so interesting seeing him as an adult trying to make those right decisions. And, it's a matter of, oh, do I go out and have some drinks and go out with my friends
Mm.
because that's what they're doing? And, he's really got to, I don't know, he's really got to work out in his mind, is that what I need to do to get me to that next level? So
Right.
yeah, it's interesting growing up with brothers. I was picked on a lot by my brothers. We all picked on each other, and we can definitely handle a lot of banter.
Mm.
It's quite funny when people come into our house and they see us argue and fight, but next everything's all good.
Did you grow up in Brisbane? I thought I read somewhere where you were kind of born in Adelaide. Did your parents move?
Yeah, born in Adelaide, so we moved to Brisbane when I was 2.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
basically a Brizzy girl.
Brizzy grow, yeah, yeah. For those that on the outside looking in, they don't understand the dominance of Queensland swimming. I mean, can you explain it? Like, why is Queensland so dominant in swimming? Why are there so many Australian champions coming out of Queensland, you think?
I would honestly just say the weather. I think it's because of the weather here that we have. We can basically swim outdoors all year round. We do. I
Mm.
mean, our pools are outdoors. So swimming is just, it's so nice to do early in the morning. Like we swim at 5 or 6 in the morning, and it's already so nice and so hot. So it's nice to get in the water and to have a swim. And growing up when I was 2, when we came up here for the very first time, we'd come from Adelaide, so it's quite cool there
Mm.
most of the year. And here we had a pool in our backyard, and my mum was teaching swimming, so she taught all of us how to swim in our backyard pool. So if she wasn't there, we could, be fine. We could save ourselves. So it was just the thing that we did, on weekends. It was playing in the pool. It was
Mhm.
playing in the pool when we got back from school on a hot day, whatever it might have been. We were always like around the water. And I think that's what people in Queensland, they grow up with. They grow up with that, whether they're close to the beach or they've got their own pool.
Yeah, 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 that makes sense. Would you compare it, you think, to maybe Florida? You've been to Florida before, right?
No, I haven't.
Oh,
I've
you
only
haven't
been
been to Florida?
I've only been to like California.
Really? That's it? Wow, that's
Yeah,
surprising. Gotta
I
get you
know.
out more.
I know. I certainly do. I won't say no to that.
There's not enough meets in America. I don't know, the international meets, there's gotta be more international. I think, I'd love to push for more of those, but there seems to be a lot more in Europe for Aussies, but,
Yeah.
Swim Angelfish. Swim Angelfish is an online certification program that strengthens your teaching curriculum to serve swimmers of all abilities. Swim Angelfish will prepare you and your instructors with the skills to teach swimmers with autism, physical disabilities, anxiety, sensory and motor conditions, and more. Learn to teach skills faster and with more comfort with Swim Angelfish. Apply for an Only Alpha Pool Product Scholarship and receive up to 50% off your certification. Go to swimangelfish.com today to apply. All right, listen, you've been a backstroke specialist for so many years. It would just be ridiculous for me not to kind of pick your brain. So I'm going to kind of go through some skills, and I want you to kind of articulate maybe some things that you do well, and maybe some growth areas for you, okay, or some areas where you feel you made improvements. So just talk to me about your backstroke start, for instance. Like, what are the things that you focus on that people can learn from you from?
Okay, I feel like I'm not very good on my start. I get killed on my start, and
Oh, you do? Okay.
I don't know if it's old age now, and I'm not as quick as what I used to be, but
Mm,
for me, it was all about kind of clearing the water, but not being a giant up and down, more of a kind of straight push out from the wall.
So how do you set yourself up on the wall then?
I have my kicker at water level.
Okay.
So I have that on 0, so pretty much at water level.
Okay.
Then my toes obviously have to be on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And when I pull, it's weird. I hold on to the sides, but then I have my thumb over the bar in the middle, just so my hands don't slide down. I don't know if they would, but I just do that. That's my thing.
Okay.
So I hold on to that. And then kind of when I think of pulling up, I kind of just think of squeezing my shoulder blades like down and back.
Okay.
And almost having like a flat back position.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now is your are you kind of pulling to 90 degrees, or are you pulling in closer, and is your butt on the surface of the water, or is it under the water?
My butt would just be like either on the surface or just below it. And with my arms, they would be like, they wouldn't be like full closed. There's still some room there because it's all a matter of just going like that.
Okay. Now, when you throw back on the start, I mean, how do you get the arch? Are you throwing your head back, or, I mean, tell me, what are you doing to get the arch and get the feet up and over the water?
It's head back and then hip push, like driving your hips to the surface.
Okay, so you throw your head and then drive your hips.
Yeah, so it's like the weight of your head back,
Uh-huh.
and then the hips coming up, like lets your feet go over the top. If you don't push your hips up enough, then your feet kind of drag through the water.
Right.
Yeah.
What about your arms? You're in this position. Are you throwing your arms around to the side, or do you throw them straight back? What do you do with
straight back?
you throw them straight back? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Good. We're learning here. Okay. That's good. I like to get technical. What about your underwaters? I mean, you're obviously decent underwater, and maybe you've worked on it a lot to try and get better. So what are you doing with your underwaters?
I did a lot leading into Tokyo. So my goal off every wall, apart from the start, was 5 dolphin kicks, which for me, like, has not been what I normally focus on. Normally, I'm all about like coming up and swimming because that was where I made my ground.
Right.
Whereas probably in the last 10 years, underwater has just been this slow increase of getting better, getting stronger, and people working it way more than what they used to. So for me, that was my focus leading into Tokyo. And I did a lot of work where we did lots of things, whether it be wearing those socks and kicking water with them, doing like all these types of drills and skills. I think I did about half an hour twice a week doing underwater work, where it was, whether it was, we did a lot going side to side in the pool. So about 25 meters, taking only one breath each wall every time you come up. So we did a lot of that. And yeah, I think I actually did it in Tokyo for like the very first time. I hit 5 off every wall. So I was really happy with that. And I've seen a lot of improvement with that. And even yesterday morning when I did my first session back with them, it was starting it off then, because if you can start it off when you're just coming back, it will be so much easier when you're in full training to be able to do it.
Right. Yeah, you got to train it. Are you the type of person that keeps the upper body completely still, or have you got some movement in the upper body?
I've got a little bit of movement in the upper body, and but most of it I try to use core and legs.
Okay.
Not
So
so much.
you initiate kind of from the chest down then.
Yeah, I
Okay.
do. Yeah.
Okay. And then how do you how do you hold water? You know, like I mean, how do you get that rhythm?
I've got giant feet, which help.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the feet help.
And I've got really good like ankle flexibility.
Yeah, you do. Okay. Backstrokers have that freaky ankle flexibility. That's crazy.
Yeah. So when I kick, my ankles are so relaxed that almost my feet are like an extra kick on what my legs are doing,
Right.
because they're like a beat behind. So I
It's
almost
it's like whipping a towel almost, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I almost
Okay.
get more. So it's weird because I don't even think about it when I do it, and I can't feel it, but I can. And like when I do a lot of slow-mo videos of my swimming, and it's interesting to see how much those feet really bend.
Right. You're not thinking about it, they're just naturally happening. But do
Yeah.
you do flexibility work on your ankles, or they're just naturally flexible?
Naturally, just like that. I did lots of gymnastics early on into my career. I really loved that until I worked out that being 5'11" doesn't really work to be a gymnast. So I gave up that dream.
Yeah.
But it gave me a lot of flexibility and really good movement in my body. So I'm one of those lucky, touch wood, people that have never been injured from swimming at all. My
Yeah.
entire career, I've never had anything. You know, the worst thing I've had is dislocating my knee riding my horse. So
Yeah.
nothing to do with swimming at all.
Yeah, it's always something out. Yeah, that's good though that you haven't. And then talk to me about your catch and your pull, because backstroke catch and pull is hard to describe. So I want to talk to an expert, someone that's been doing it all their lives. So like, what are you thinking when you're actually entering and initiating the catch, and then what are you actually doing with your pull?
Okay, catch it like backstroke catch is my favorite thing because I
Okay.
think that I'm really good at it.
Mm-hmm.
I once got told from someone after doing a training camp, I think, with the Australian team, that my backstroke is basically freestyle catch. So that's what I think about when I do my backstroke. So I keep my arm really close to my body, and I'm using my whole arm as like a paddle. So this stays really strong. And then
Are you thinking like keeping the elbow in? Is that what you think?
so it's like keeping like my arm close to my body. So my elbow doesn't really go too far out from my body.
Right.
And it's all about like using this whole motion all the way through to my leg. Like I make sure that I really finish the stroke. So it's like a finish and then back up.
Now, when you're holding water, would you say that your fingertips are pointed towards the side of the pool?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you just pull through, and then as you get closer to your thigh, you kind of you bring the water to your thigh and finish at your thigh, is it?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, again, it's one of those things that just comes naturally to me, but my hand is like a paddle, so it is strong. Like I don't swim like that at all. I swim like this, and I really use as much force as I can when I do my arms.
Is there anything in the dry land or the gym that you can do to strengthen that at all?
Yeah, we did a lot of med ball throwdowns. So having the med ball in your hand up here and then rotating to do our catch and throwing the ball down as we do it, but keeping the ball like your hand over the top of the ball.
Right.
So it's not like the ball's just dropping. You're actually using the power to push it to the ground.
And what do you think the weight of that med ball might be?
It would only be like 2 kilo, 3 kilo max.
Okay.
It's just keeping it light so you can feel that you're pushing it all the way down. Like want to have that ball against your hand and using that power of your arms to really drive it to the ground.
Right. Now, once you get to your thigh, what are you doing in your recovery? How are you exiting the water, and then what are you doing in the recovery, and then how are you entering? Are you thumb exit and then that type of pinky enter kind of thing?
Yeah, yeah. I think, as I grew up, we did a lot of drills where it was like, I don't know if you ever heard of it. You probably do a similar thing. It's called stop, check, and change. So we used to do like you had to come up, you had to stop, do the stop sign, and then you had to have your pinky in first, and then you'd change your arms.
Right.
So
Okay.
I just grew up doing that, and I think I just naturally do that. But it's definitely, for me, it's always got to be like pinky in the water first. That's the only way I do it. And I rotate my hand quite quick to get that pull straight down. And I start that catch like right up when my hand enters the water. As soon as my pinky's in, it's a turn, and then it's a pull all the way down.
Wow. Okay. I mean, I guess you've spent a lot of time kind of analyzing that on video too, right?
A lot of time. We do
Yeah.
at least once a week where we're watching film back, and I
Mm.
film myself a lot too, just so I can see it for myself. Because sometimes when you slow everything down, you see a lot more, and when you're just looking at
Mm.
it yourself, you can actually see different things and then be like, "Oh, okay, this is what they're talking to me about." Sometimes when they tell you, it's like, "Oh, okay, like, yeah, no worries." And then when you see it yourself, you're like, "Oh, this is what they're talking about."
Right.
Sometimes
Yep.
I just need to see it myself and to
Right.
work it out, and then I can be like, "Okay, that's it."
Right, right. Speed in the recovery is obviously important in backstroke too. I mean, manipulation of the speed. So obviously in your 100, your tempo is going to be higher, but are you thinking about speed in your recovery, like from exit to entry point? Like, are you thinking about that speed?
The only thing I really think about when I'm swimming is the pull and the strength that I'm pulling.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm constantly thinking about each stroke and making sure the underwater part is right, because
Mm.
the top part is whatever. It's not really that important as this part is. The only way you're moving forward is the underwater part.
So you're not necessarily thinking about speed and throwing the hand back as fast as you can then.
No.
Mm.
No, I'm thinking about the water that I'm pulling. I'm constantly thinking about the water that I'm pulling and feeling it with my hands.
How do you manipulate your tempo then, in the difference between the 100 and the 200? How do you manipulate that?
I think I do a really good job in the 200 because I play around with my tempo a lot in the 200. I go out and I just the only thing that I'm thinking on the first 50 is using my easy speed that I have. And,
Is easy speed generated for you from the tempo of your upper body or the lower body, or are you thinking easy speed is a combination of the two?
it's more, I always think upper body for me
Right.
because my legs are really strong. I'm quite a good kicker, so
Mm.
I never worry too much about my legs.
Mm.
And all I think about kind of in the middle is saving my legs a little bit. So I
Mhm.
kind of let my legs relax and I
Right.
try and pull more with my arms because
Mhm.
in my race, my legs die before my arms will die.
Right,
So I
right.
save my legs for as long as I can, and then that way, then I can change my tempo for that last 50 where I tend to really kind of explode. I just let everything out of the tank. So for me, I'm like working into that last 50. I kind of try and start at the last 15 of the third 50. So that way I can hit a good turn, push off the wall, and then I just say to myself, okay, this is it, just go for it. And I'm just like, all I feel is just like strong, 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 pull, pull, pull. That's all I'm thinking.
Mm. So when you're building a race, are you building by bringing the legs in, or are you starting to just pull stronger? You're obviously pulling, but are you just putting more emphasis on the pull?
I'm putting more emphasis on the pull.
Mm.
And on that last 50, I'm like, okay, use all the legs that you've got left. So I'm kind of like come off that wall really powerful with the 5 kicks.
Hmm.
Then I come up and it's my arms pulling, but it's a stronger leg kick too.
Now, when you're kicking, are you keeping your kick tight in a small box? Like, are you trying to bring it on like a freestyle kick? When you bring it on, like it's a 6-beat. Obviously, it's small and fast. Is it similar in backstroke?
For me, it's really small, quick kicks rather than big kicks that you see in the freestyle. Sometimes you get like lots of splashing with a freestyle kicker when they really turn on the jets, as we call it. But for a backstroke, I think of it as, you know, making those kicks really small but really quick.
Right. Now, is there a breathing pattern in backstroke? I've heard some people talk about it, others not. Is there one for you?
Someone asked me that the other day, like a year ago, and I was like, I have no idea. And then I did it, and I breathe out on one arm and in on the other.
See, I heard that the other day too. Yeah, someone else told me that.
I didn't know I did that until someone asked me, and I was like, oh, I don't even know. And then I tried it, and I was like, oh.
Yep, I can't remember who told me that. Was it Ryan Murphy or somebody? It's like some freak backstroker told me that the other day. Like, they have a breathing pattern as well, and I was like, okay, all right, that's interesting.
I mean, who would have thought, right? Because you can just breathe any time, but obviously, just because you do other strokes, you kind of get into a pattern, and then when you just go on your back, you just kind of repeat that pattern.
Yeah, I guess so. But you didn't even know you're doing it. It's just happening naturally.
Doing it, yeah.
That's freaky. We individualize training in the pool, so why not individualize your nutrition? Erica Biney of Biney Wellness Building will help you and your swimmers get exactly what each athlete needs through genetic testing and personalized nutrition plans. So stop guessing what you should and shouldn't be putting into your body. Athletes within a few weeks have noticed they're recovering faster because they're fueling their body with what they need and staying away from what their body hates. Erica understands swimming. She gets it. She's worked with over 20 Olympians, including the fastest man in the world, Caleb Dressel. Group discounts are available, so go to Biney Wellness Building and get in touch with Erica today. That's Biney, BEINE, wellnessbuilding.net. Talk to me about head position, because a lot of people get this wrong in backstroke. What is good head position?
I think good head position, like body position, is so important. And I say this because I do a lot of coaching as well. And floating is so important. And a lot of people don't know how to float. And as a good backstroker, floating is like your go-to, because you need that great position on the water. You want that body kind of half in, half out of the water, if that makes sense. So you want everything to be in one line. If your head is slightly back, you're creating more drag by dragging your head in the water. So you want to create less drag for your body. So you want that little bubble of your body. So you don't want your head to be further down than the rest of your body. You don't want it to be further up, because then you're just creating drag from your head. So it's so interesting. And it just, I mean, I've been swimming for so long, so everything's like riding a bike for me. But when I coach, when I'm telling people, you know, this is what you need to do, we always start with floating, because it's the one thing that they don't understand.
Yeah. In backstroke, I tell people to almost imagine like they're laying their head on a pillow. So the chin is in a little bit. They're just kind of laying back, but it's not, you know, you don't lay on a pillow like this, obviously, and you know, you're not cutting off your breathing, but just kind of laying back on a pillow. Is that the right way to do it or not?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, watching kids now with Streamline, you can get so many different versions of Streamline. There's Streamline where they'll sit their head in their arms like this.
Right.
It's so bad, because they're just dragging their whole head. Like when I learned Streamline, it was covering your ears. You know, you're creating this fine little bubble. But kids now, they do this and they sit their little head in there. And then when they kick, they go to do kick, their arms are so far down in the water, and they don't realize that's slowing them down. I kick all the time with, obviously my hands are dry, like this part of my hand will be dry in the water, and I just sit like it's so relaxing. I just lie on the water, and I don't really think about it. But you know, this part is almost dry when I swim. But
oh yeah, I like that.
people don't realize like that, pushing people, I don't know. Sometimes when people think about going fast, it's like an instant, like, we got to crunch up a little bit to really be really strong and powerful. Whereas I think stretching out and using your length is so strong.
Some people talk about backstroke as kind of like a canoe kind of thing, like you kind of roll your shoulders in. Do you do that or not?
No, I mean, obviously I rotate a lot with my upper body, but I don't try and
You
canoe
don't.
because
You're right.
I use my pecs
Mm-hmm.
swim. Like that's
Right.
where my power is coming from is
Right.
through here and through my back and through my lats. So if I hunched up, I wouldn't be able to get as much power with my stroke.
Yeah. That's interesting. Now, talk to me about that rotation, because in freestyle, I'm more of a freestyle expert. I swam it for years trying to study freestyle, but for me, I kind of locked the hips in to swim fast, locked them in a way that I got more rotation from my shoulders. Obviously, when I'm swimming freestyle, I'm kind of coming over the top of the water. I want to get more rotation in the top, but I want to lock those hips in. Is that similar in backstroke where you get more rotation in your shoulders, but lock the hip in a little bit?
Yeah, so it's a lot of core and like cross connection. So
Mm-hmm.
from like shoulder to hip.
Mm-hmm.
And when I talk to my kids, I'm like, you can rotate your shoulders without rotating your hips. As soon as you start rotating your hips to the side, you then start kicking
Right.
to the side.
Right.
Your legs will kind of follow what your hips are doing. So if you could keep those hips straight and kicking back, then to the side, it's just so much faster.
Yeah. I like this. We're learning a lot here. Thank you for doing this.
Okay.
All right. What about the turn then? Talk to me about your backstroke turn. Are you trying to do it in one motion where it's like you're going from your back to do you anchor and then roll and then make that one motion into your backstroke turn?
Yeah, so it's obviously the last arm is a strong arm, but you're kind
Mm-hmm.
of coming around on that arm. So it's turning from a backstroke arm to like almost a half freestyle.
Right.
And then you've got that full freestyle into your boom off the wall. So
Right.
a lot for me was about having sensory on the wall. So my feet could feel that there was something there. And then it was about, quickly determining touching something on the wall to pushing off really quick, because quickness to me is obviously something that isn't as good as some others. So having something on the wall so I could immediately feel something and push off, that was a big factor for me leading into Tokyo too. Because
Right.
turns and starts and everything, you can, even if you're, talking about 0.1 here off every turn that you're doing, we're almost talking about half a second in a 200, and that's massive. That's massive when you're talking about the Olympics.
Do you push off straight, or are you trying to angle down and then kind of kick your way out?
So naturally, because I want my legs really high on the wall, so I'd want my legs like as high as I can. And then
Why do you want your legs as high as you can?
because then I found if what I was doing was I was too slow rotating my legs over, that as I was hitting the wall, I was hitting like down at the bottom where my hand is.
Right.
And that would then cause my back to really arch because I got to push myself down. So if I found if I hit the wall high, then my body was naturally had that straightness about it. Whereas if I was down here, I'm like curving my back to go back down because it's pushing me up. My body was going upwards instead of down. So if I hit high, then I could follow that natural curve and kind of curve up slowly instead of trying to arch my back and push myself down and then go back up.
Right, that makes sense. Okay, that's helpful. Now, what about the last thing here, the finish? A lot of people dive down into a finish and then kind of shoot at the wall, or some people go kind of low on their last stroke and directly back. How do you do it?
I try to think of a finish as this arm's coming up and I know the wall's there, I'm shooting myself back onto that wall. So it's like I want to keep this arm straight. I want to hit on a straight arm and I don't want to do like a bend in case I've got to like really wait for that wall. So if I'm doing this stroke, I'm like straight on.
Right. Okay. All right. All right. Have you ever had a situation where you felt like you mistimed that, like you could have been better at that last stroke?
Absolutely. A lot of the time, especially when you're really hurting, it's like that wall is taking forever to get there and you just want to get there. So occasionally you'll just be like, oh my God, I'm so close, but I can't do another stroke. And you'll just really try to then create that big butterfly kick. So a lot of people will because now the rule is like something has to be out of the water when you touch. And I think we always did that automatically before that rule came in. But when that rule came in, everyone had to second guess themselves. So when I do that, if I'm really struggling, you've got to kind of do that upward kick to get those feet to kick out of the water just in case you're underwater, because you never know. Yeah,
so you actually do kind of like an upward dolphin.
It's like an upward kick to get onto that wall. So it's like almost like you're like throwing yourself back, but your legs are coming up.
Do you ever continue like the fly kick into a flutter to get there, or do you just dolphin to shoot?
I've never thought about that. You've made an interesting point that I now want to try.
Well, I tell people all the time, don't turn your legs off. If you're too far from the wall, keep the legs running, Why not?
My legs die. That's my problem.
The turner back is a bitch.
Oh, it's like someone is in the grandstand is just like throwing a piano on me and I'm like, oh, I seize up.
I got to tell you, I was a 200 backstroker up until about the age of 17, and then I got smart and I was like, "This is stupid. I'm flipping to the 50 freestyle." But 200 back was
free. I'd do it too.
I just got stronger. That's it. I was like, all right, I'm a scrawny little backstroker. I'm going to turn into a strong freestyle. So I just went to the gym for like a year and just pumped. I was like, I'm not doing backstroke, but
so that's good for me then.
Yeah, just get stronger. That's it. All right, let's flip it. I appreciate you being very technical there. So we've been going here for a little while, but you obviously came out of the Olympics and went into kind of a celebrity type, what do they call those things? Reality show. Why did you decide to do a reality show?
I guess for me, it was about the fact that I've been around for so long and people have so many misconceptions about me and what I do and my personality. And I really wanted a chance to show people something different than what they see, like a 2-minute interview after a race or just watching a race or watching some promo. It's so different to who we are as people. And I really wanted people to understand that there is another side to swimmers and athletes, and they're not just this straight edge person. They have so many different areas of their life that's so important too.
Yeah. The show is called "I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here." I don't think they have it in America, but it's pretty popular in England and Australia, so it's kind of taken off. Were you? Were you fearful of it before you went in? Like, did you have kind of like an idea of like, all right, I'm going to say this, I'm going to do this, like, or were you just like, you know what, I'm just going to be an open book? How'd you approach it?
The only way I do things is being an open book. I'm not very good at secrets and lies and whatever. So that doesn't work for me. So I went in there just being like, I'm going to be myself. I want everyone to see everything about me, the funny parts, the parts where I'm not so funny, the parts where I'm sad, whatever it might be. I only joined up to the show sitting in quarantine after the Olympics. So it was very quick turnaround. I think I was only home 10 days before heading into the jungle. So I was nervous about it because obviously I didn't really have much time to think about anything. And I just went in there just like whatever, just have fun, enjoy yourself, just be you. And, people will get to know you more.
Yeah. There was kind of two major things that I saw came from that, you made some headlines on. One of them was the pay that you get, swimmers pay. And look, listen, I'm an Australian swimmer, so I know all about it too. The struggles that we go through, that you go through, and the little amount of money that we're paid. were you surprised that and did anything come of that? Like, you made some headlines based on talking about swimmers' pay, but was there anything that actually eventuated from that?
That chat was so interesting because I was having that chat with some other former athletes, and they were telling me their pays, and it was like, we know it here in
Mm,
Australia. Obviously, AFL is massive, is huge. Also,
mm,
NRL is huge, and swimmers just we don't get that much publicity because there's only a major meet once every year, and apart from that, people think that we don't swim all the time, but we do. We swim 24/7. So
mm,
I think people were shocked to know that, because I think when people think about the swimmers and the Olympics, they think, "Wow, they're doing so well, they're making so much money." But
mm.
really, we're doing it for the love of swimming and the love that we have for the sport. And we don't, money is on the back burner for us. We do other meets to make up that money, whether it be World Cups or ISL now. It's
Mm.
just, it's like a traveling circus. You continue on because after the major meet, that's when you kind of need to make that money.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, so you don't think that made any major indent in kind of the way swimmers are paid? I mean, it's basically it is what it is, kind of thing.
I think it is what it is. And I mean, it's just hard here. We don't have many sponsors on the team.
Yeah.
And it's so hard because there's so many other sports on all the time, and people want to throw their money at sports that are on TV all the time because they
Mm,
want their products out there the most.
right.
But we're just not out there, so it's hard.
Yeah, I don't think people realize that your whole livelihood depends on you making the team each year. Like you get basically a contract to say, okay, I made the Australian team. I'm going to the World Championships. I'm going to the Olympics, or I'm going to the Commonwealth Games. You qualify for the team, and then that gets you through the year. But there's a lot of pressure on succeeding at the trials, and you seem to have done a really good job of that the past 15 years of figuring out how to get yourself on teams. But has there been a point for you where your back's been against the wall? Maybe you've been sick at the trials where it's like, shit, my whole livelihood depends on this. Like, if I don't perform now, I'm not sitting out a year. I can't afford it. Like, has there been a time for you? Because I know there was for me, especially, where I got to the trials one year and I'm like, I gotta make this happen. Like, I'm sick right now, but nobody gives a shit. I gotta figure this out. Has that been that for you?
Yeah, there's really no second chances when it comes to
Hmm.
swimming. It
Yeah.
comes to trials. It's 1-2 at that trials, and
Hmm.
there's no other meet. You can't just post a time. It's
Hmm.
really cutthroat. And
Yeah.
I think people are really shocked to know that. They didn't realize that every year we're really pushing to make that team. So there's no chances to slow down, to have a
Hmm.
break.
Yep.
That's why I'm taking this opportunity now, because I can actually do that and not have the pressure of making a team on my back, because
Hmm.
you can't do anything half-assed, and making the team isn't easy at all anytime, because there's always someone else that wants that spot.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Destro Swim Towers. Gain strength in the water with a tower of power. Save $150 per double swim tower by using code BRETT, BRETT, at checkout. DestroMachines.com. Vasa has been the go-to training tool outside of the pool for over 30 years. Vasa's products are ideal for developing power and proper technique in your swimmer's catch. Add a few Vasa trainers to your pool deck, and it's like adding an extra lane to your swimming pool. Go to vasatrainer.com, use code BRETT at checkout, and get 10% off anything from Vasa. Well, I mean, you're training with the Olympic champion now, Kaylee McKeown. What are you taking from that experience? I mean, you've only just started back, I guess, with her, but why have you put yourself in that position, and what are you taking from that right now?
Well, it's hard because I've only done one session with her, but I love a challenge and I love being pushed.
Mhm.
When she wasn't there, it would be me racing boys because beating boys is like I get so much energy from it, and I like can walk away with this giant smile on my face, being like, "Oh, I got you." But working with her, I'm going to be pushed all the time to
Mhm.
really be better. And it was interesting yesterday morning because it was the first chance that I had to actually train with her, and it's going to be hard because sometimes I'm not going to be winning or getting better times than her, but I've got to work out how I improve myself and try and get to that top spot, get to that wall first.
Yeah. Have you had a chance to kind of figure out the why? Like you've been to 4 Olympics. Why do you think you want to keep going?
Because I love it. I'm just a sicko for passion. I just
Yeah.
I love getting hurt, and I love, you know, having nothing left in my tank and just walking out and being like, "I'm just done, guys. I got nothing left." And, I just love that feeling, and I love the routine of it. I've had
Mhm.
this routine my entire life, which is, like, also a scary thing to give up, that sometimes I won't have this routine and I won't, have a set schedule of this is what I do on every day, and I got into a really good routine where I knew what I was doing every day, and I loved it. I loved going there. I loved working really hard. I loved Bowley just being like, "You can do better," or "That was really good," and we had this saying he would say, if we were doing really well, he would say WC, which was world class. And
Mm.
I just would fight to hear that because I just, yeah, I love, I guess, being teacher's pet.
Yeah, I don't mind someone telling me I'm world class. That'd be a good feeling too. I could see how I'd fight for that as well. But
Yeah.
well, I mean, what else was I going to say here in terms of what's left for you though? I mean, you've done everything you could possibly do, haven't you? Like, where do you still have goals? Like, what's the end goal for you?
I guess for me, I'm always thinking about PBs, always trying to improve. And I haven't improved on my London time that I did at the Olympics in my 100 back. And I've been really, really close. And
Mm.
working with Bowley, I've gotten, it's been a slow stepping stone process, but
Hmm.
I'm finally feel like I'm in the right direction. And I feel like with this break too, it's given me a really good chance to rest my entire body, to rest my mind, to not have to think about anything, to not have pressure on me, and really come back slowly and work my way back to that. And I don't have time restrictions around me. I'm obviously taking this year out, so it's like I don't have pressure of making the team or going to trials or all this racing. I can really just go step by step. I don't have to rush anything. And I think for me, obviously, I missed the team in 2019, and then the Olympics happened in 2021 instead of being 2020. And I was so focused on 2020 because I wanted to show that that I'm not losing, I guess, who I am and the swimmer that I was. And I really needed that opportunity. And then when that didn't happen, it was very much of a mind fuzz for me, because it was like I had my mind set on that, and then that didn't happen, and I had to kind of retrain myself to be like, okay, I can keep going. It's all in
Mm.
here. I'm still that athlete. I've still worked hard for an extra year. I just get an extra bit of time to keep going, to fine tune, to get a little bit better. And that was hard, but in the end of the day, it made me that better athlete. And I think when this time off too, it's just going to make me that little bit stronger and give me more of a drive. Hopefully, when I'm full into training, I've got that drive just because I've had that time to just really relax and enjoy myself and do other
Mm.
things.
Yeah. So do you have sponsors right now?
I actually don't have any sponsors right now.
Okay, well, come on. Come on. Somebody get out there. We need some sponsors
Yeah,
here.
hopefully.
So I guess 24 Paris is the ultimate goal. So you want to go to 5 Olympics, I'd imagine.
If I am coming back to swimming 100%, Paris is my goal.
Mm.
I always believe that you should finish on that big cycle, that
Right.
you should do a couple of cycles and finish. I don't think I would come back and just swim for a year and be like, oh, it didn't work. I've got to really buy into what I'm doing, and maybe, the year before might not be as good, but that doesn't mean that I can't, keep going up from that.
So what would you do, you think, after swimming? I mean, where do you think you'd go? Swimming's done.
Yeah.
What's the next phase, you think?
I won't lie, I want to go into TV.
Okay.
I want to do
Gian Rooney, huh?
Yeah, a bit of that, bit of Joe Griggs. I don't know if you remember Joe Griggs.
Yeah, I know Joe Griggs. Yeah, I love Joe Griggs.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I would like to go. Like, one day I want to be going to the Olympics and talking about these athletes and be like, I know what they're going through. I've been through that. It's so amazing to see them. Like, I mean, I love Jo and what she does and how good she is at her job. Like, she just, she has the passion and the love for what she's doing. And I have that love too. And I really want to be able to keep kind of being in the realm without being in the realm, if that makes sense.
Actually, I reached out to Jo right around the Olympic time and asked her if she'd do the podcast. She said yes, but she was super busy at the time. Now you've just reignited my thoughts again. I got to get back on Jo Griggs again.
Yeah, get back on Jo. Get her on the show.
Yeah, she's awesome. I love Jo. Oh, that's cool. I like that. I mean, going into that realm, and you've had some experience on TV now, so that's pretty cool. Well, that's really good. Well, listen, I hope you take a run at Paris. That's just me being selfish, but you do what you need to do, and good luck. You got the best coach in the world. I think Bowley's fantastic. You got an incredible training group there. Emma McKeon's there, Cody Simpson's there. So Mac Horton, you got an incredible group. So you couldn't ask for anything more in that sense, I guess.
Yeah, it's a massive squad. I mean, seeing how much it's changed from when I was there to what it is now, it's so crazy. We've got this array of amazing athletes, from Emma to Kaylee to Brendan Smith to Clyde Lewis to Mac Horton. Like, it's just like, this squad is just a power squad, and I think we can really thrive off each other and really push each other. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see how this squad develops and changes over leading into Paris. Obviously, how many of us can get onto that team? Yeah,
super cool. All right, well, listen, I appreciate this. Thanks for taking the hour and spending time with us. And got a lot of viewers in America, so they're going to get to know you even more. And I appreciate this. And look, I didn't know you as well as I do now, so I'm a fan. So congratulations on an amazing career, and hopefully it continues. Okay.
Thank you. We'll see.
All right. Take care, Emily.
Bye.